If Gulf Shores, Alabama, with its beautiful warm water and sugar white sand, is on the top of your list of beachy dream destinations, hold that thought because it just started raining and I'm going to tell you why you might not want to move here. I live here and I love it, but I have seen people regret it because they just didn't know exactly what they were walking into. And some of those reasons might be obvious, like the weather that we're dealing with right now. I just relocated here about 5 years ago from New York, and it has been a wonderful move for me and my family. We absolutely love the South. We absolutely love this community, but we had to make some adjustments, and I'm going to walk you through how some of those adjustments could have been maybe a little bit easier for us when we moved here and what I wish I knew about it before I made that leap. So I'm about to give you the real deal. Stick around and we're going to dive in why you might not want to move to Gulf Shores, Alabama, unless you're fully prepared. And that's what I'm here for. So call or reach out to me anytime because I've got the scoop on what you need to know to make this your next best move. Reason number one on the list is the tourist takeover. If you've ever tried running a quick errand in Gulf Shores, well, they might not be so quick. What feels like a sleepy beach town most of the year turns into bumper to bumper, wait for an hour for fried shrimp, no parking anywhere event once spring break comes around, and then pretty much through the rest of the summer. I mean, who blames everybody for wanting to be here? But between May and October, this becomes a very busy place with crowded beaches, packed restaurants, and enough sunscreen in the air to qualify as a fog advisory. So even getting a card at Publix sometimes can be a little bit competitive. And yes, noise levels can go up too, especially near some popular beachfront condos and the main drag. But really, it's nothing. Those aren't really the residential areas that most people are living, and it's not like Destin or Panama City at all. You're not dodging party crowds with bands of spring breakers. This is really a family destination. There really actually aren't even that many places to go out at night in Gulf Shores. So you're really attracting crowds that like to be out early, outdoors fishing in the morning, and in bed early at night. So while, yes, tourism brings the crowds, it also does support our local economy. And by the way, it's still tamer than a lot of chaos. But if you're dreaming of peace, quiet, and an easy breezy trip to Target year-round, well, you're going to want to be strategic about where you live and about how you plan your days here. The number two reason is the cost. Living by the water isn't exactly cheap. Alabama is known to be very affordable, and there are a lot of affordable things about it. When you look at the taxes, the utilities, and the cost of everyday living, and it stacks up great when you compare it to other places in the country. However, the price tag on housing here in Baldwin County can be higher compared to other places in the state, and particularly when you get to Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, that price tag goes up even more. However, the average home price in Alabama is just under $300,000. Yet, here in Gulf Shores, it's just under $500,000. And if you move over to Orange Beach, we're around $700,000. So it is not cheap everywhere. That's more than double the state average, and that's not taking into consideration the costs of owning a home near the water. So no, Gulf Shores is not actually that budget-friendly of a beach town. And it's not just the sales price, it's also the trend. Home values are still going up in Gulf Shores. We're seeing the values not go up as quickly as they were, and days on market is getting higher, but the prices have just priced some folks out of the market altogether. And then when you consider what happens after you buy, beach living means extra maintenance. Salt air is really no joke when it comes to HVAC equipment and roofs, and even your windows can deteriorate faster than you would expect living here on the water. You have to be concerned more about power washing and pest control and repairs and doing everything a little bit more often than you might think out here by the water. And let's not forget about hurricane insurance, because that is a cost that has been going up more and more. But the bottom line is it all adds up, with some homeowners paying over $5,000 a year in insurance premiums. And even if you're not in a designated flood zone, you've still got a budget for storms and the rising rates of living around here. So compared to other beach towns like 30A or other coasts in Florida, Gulf Shores is definitely still a more affordable option, but that does not mean that it's cheap. There are new construction homes available in Baldwin County. If you just go north of here about 30 or 40 minutes, and you can still get a brand new home under $300,000 with a garage. However, down here in Gulf Shores, the closer you get to the water, the more you're gonna pay. You can get a new construction home here for in the high 400s, but mostly 500,000 and 600,000 for newer construction homes. And then for a more established home on the water, you could be looking at close to $1 million or up into the multi-millions, depending on what type of amenities and size that you want. So if you're looking for cheap, this might not be exactly cheap, but if you're looking for a good value on the water with a great lifestyle, well, this could be your place. We're giving insurance its own reason because it is the number one question that I get asked and the number one fear that most people have when they are moving to the coast. This is such a popular topic that right now I actually created a new guide. You can grab it below if you're interested in seeing some real life examples of what insurance is costing and how you can go about finding the right place and the right home within your budget. So right now, homeowners insurance premiums have been going up. The good news is I was at an association meeting just a couple weeks ago with both an insurance provider as well as a gold fortification inspector, and they were both talking about how to mitigate those costs and the fact that homeowners insurance is expected to go down for a couple of reasons. One, we're seeing more providers entering into this market. Everyone's got their eye on Alabama right now because it is booming, and that includes insurance companies. And the more insurance companies we have, the more competition we have, and that means that we will likely end up seeing our premiums reduced. Now, they have definitely leveled off this year, and according to the experts, we might even see those go down, assuming we don't have any major weather events. In my guide, I break all of that down for you, so if you're curious about that or if that's a concern that you have, you can just put your email in and I'll get it right out to you. There are other things regarding insurance that you should be aware of when you're looking at the house. Not only the gold fortification status, which is probably the number one thing that you should consider, but also whether or not the age of the plumbing, the electric, the HVAC, and the hot water systems have been replaced. All of those things can impact your homeowner's insurance premiums, as well as the location. How close are you to the water? Do you need flood insurance? Do you have an elevation certificate? All of those things. We have a lot of areas that do not require flood insurance that it still might be recommended that you get flood insurance. And there are a lot of other things that do come into play when you're shopping for insurance that you should be aware of. A lot of buyers don't realize just how important it is to get those insurance quotes up front before they fall in love with a home, because it can absolutely be the deal breaker in your budget. So if you're house hunting in Gulf Shores, don't just ask about the square footage, don't just ask about the insurance history, ask about the flood zones, whether the home qualifies for fortification discounts, and otherwise you might be house poor before you even unpack the beach towels. The number 4 reason you might not want to move to Gulf Shores is access to quality healthcare. You know how they say timing is everything? Well, that's especially true when it comes to healthcare in Gulf Shores. We are a growing beach town with a mix of young families, retirees, and a huge seasonal population spike. So during peak season, it can be sometimes difficult to get appointments at the urgent care centers, or even getting new doctor's appointments can be a very long wait because we are just growing so fast. So be prepared to wait for an appointment. As soon as you get down here, make sure you seek out doctors that are going to be a good fit for you right away. And even for non-emergencies, remember that getting an appointment with a primary care doctor, pediatrician, or a specialist can take weeks and sometimes even months to get in. So we do have some great providers, but sometimes not the same level of access to care that you might be used to if you're in a big city. I know some people that travel to Mobile, Pensacola, even New Orleans, Birmingham and as far as Houston to get access to some of their care providers. And the bottom line is that if easy access to top-tier healthcare is very high on your list, you might want to look closely at calling this beach town your next home.
The number 5 reason you might not want to move to Gulf Shores
is it is actually still a small town. It has a population of only about 17,000 people. So while we do get an influx of tourists that come into town, if you're coming from a larger city, you might find that the options here are relatively limited in terms of what you've got around. You're not going to see a great Broadway theater show necessarily coming to Gulf Shores, although there are some local theater companies that put on some great shows, and getting involved in the community is one of the things that makes this place special. However, you might find yourself driving to New Orleans or driving to Pensacola, maybe even occasionally to Birmingham to get some of the things that you're used to. A wider variety of food, a wider variety of activities. The things that we have are great. They're really paying attention to what the needs are of the community, but especially during the off season, things can close early. You'll find a lot of places are still closed on Sundays. You're not going to necessarily get 24-hour Uber service or a 24-hour DoorDash service here. Things are going to be a little slower, and you're going to have a little less access to some of the things that you might be used to if you're coming from a big city.
The number 6 reason you might not want to move to Gulf Shores
is that it can have a very narrow job market here in Gulf Shores. Unless you're retired, you work remote or in hospitality, construction, tourism, landing a year-round, well-paying job in Gulf Shores can be a challenge. This town thrives on short-term rentals, real estate, and seasonal businesses. And with only about 17,000 full-time residents, it's not exactly a job seekers playground. So if you're relocating without a job first, already lined up, press pause before falling in love with that beach cottage. Now, there are opportunities if you're creative or entrepreneurial, definitely with so much growth happening here. And there are industries that are really thriving and growing in nearby Mobile, Foley, and Fairhope. Those are all growing areas with lots of opportunities. In fact, Foley was recently named the #1 retirement destination in the entire country because it's both affordable and livable. Personally, I moved here with my girls because I saw that there was so much opportunity for young people to have a really nice life on an affordable salary. And so for them, where I came from, this seems like a really great place. So it all depends on your line of work, whether you're in healthcare, education, trades, or if you're willing to commute a bit, you might just find your niche around here. And with the lower cost of living, you would be surprised that you can build a pretty beautiful life here on less. But again, don't assume that you'll figure it out after you arrive. This is one of those areas where planning ahead is going to make all the difference.
The number 7 reason
is the heat and humidity. We have very hot, humid days in the summertime. Going outside in the middle of an August day to play pickleball or to go on a walk or a bike ride or out on the boat can be brutal if you do not like the heat. I happen to move here because I love the heat. There's nothing better to me than being able to sit outside at night with a cold glass of lemonade and still just have it dripping with sweat because it's warm outside. When I lived up north, everyone loved the cold nights, bundling up in a sweatshirt and a blanket. And to me, I thought, it's summertime. I don't want to be in a sweatshirt and a blanket. I can do that in the winter. I want to be in a bathing suit. I want to be in shorts. I want to be in a t-shirt. I want to be outside enjoying this heat. When I go to a restaurant and they ask me if I want to sit inside or outside, my answer is always outside. And all these restaurants usually have an outdoor option, and I take it every chance I can get, even in the summertime. Now, in the wintertime, that means we have warm winter months. So you can be outdoors enjoying the boating, the hiking, beautiful flowers that actually do bloom year-round. If you haven't been to downtown Fairhope yet to see the gorgeous flowers and the beautiful lights in the wintertime, it is worth a trip to see, even if you're not moving here come for a visit. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you get to enjoy those things in January, in February. Mardi Gras takes place in the winter months, and to be outside during that time, not freezing cold, but outside in a parade, catching beads and catching stuffed animals is so much fun. And that's one of the things that really makes this a great place to live. But if you don't like the heat, you might not want to move to Gulf Shores.
So the last reason you might not want to move to Gulf Shores is because of the growing pains and the identity crisis that Gulf Shores might be having. With all of this growth comes popularity, and some people say it loses that little sleepy beach town that we had. Well, you know, with popularity and growth does come change. And if that's not something that you're interested in, Gulf Shores might not be for you. Some say it's progress, others say it's the end of what made Gulf Shores special. But what do you think? So I still think Gulf Shores is pretty amazing, but is it perfect? No, no place is perfect. Is it right for you? Let's find out. If you have questions, just reach out to me, give me a call, or schedule a time to chat below. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed or signed up for my newsletter, those are great ways to stay in touch. I'll see you on the next video.